Hey, before we get started, I just want to let you guys know about my comic Dark Phantom. Issues 1 through 9 are available now for free on Webtoon, with issue 10 coming soon. We've put a lot of work into it and it would mean a lot if you would check it out. Thanks, and let's get on with the video. Hey, so you probably know me as the superhero comics guy, right? The guy who gets mad whenever a comic book movie changes anything from the comics and who blows a gasket when Batman tells a joke. Yeah, that's me. But before I even ever held a comic book in my hand, there was a different kind of comic I loved. Behold, the newspaper comics page. I've been reading the funnies since I first learned how to read, and today I wanted to talk about them with you because I don't know, I just thought it would be fun. Do I need a grander reason to talk about something? Probably the most stereotypical aspect of these comics is that they're more often than not sickeningly sweet. Comics like The Family Circus seem more concerned with making you go, "aww," than actually making you laugh. The most enjoyment I get out of these comics is finding the dark or mature undertones, since more often than not it's so easy to misread the boomer humor. Take Dennis the Menace for example. Sure, you could read it as the story of a bratty kid who's always getting into wacky mischief, but I choose to read it as the story of two parents who are in a loveless marriage because the dad is a perpetual sex pervert. Also, Dennis is gay. You can't tell me that's not what Hank Ketchum envisioned. And of course there's Marmaduke, who by all accounts is the most powerful creature on the face of the earth. He can lift cars with the force of his jaw. He can kill with but a thought. He has met Casey Neistat. Fear the Duke. Of course, there's also Beetle Bailey, which is just a fascistic dystopian nightmare where Beetle is trapped in the military for the rest of his life, and High and Lois, where their neighbor Thirsty's abusive marriage is treated as a classic funny joke. I think the most overt of these types of comics is Red and Rover. It's not as popular as the other ones, but it's about a kid named Red and his dog named Rover. It's got kind of a Calvin and Hobbes thing going on where the kid's only friend is his dog and he's the only one who can talk to him. But unlike Calvin and Hobbes, it doesn't have the dark, edgy slant to it, and instead it's more of a lovey-dovey, I love you dog, I love you boy sort of story. Without the dark edge, honestly, Red's lack of any real friends outside of his dog makes it even more creepy. Like whenever the boy and the dog say they love each other, I get romantic vibes from them. It's very uncomfortable. Now, there are some comics who choose to tell a grand overarching story instead of just telling simple jokes every day. Stuff like Mary Worth, For Better or For Worse, or Jumpstart. I commend what these comics are going for, but this really isn't the medium for it. It feels like they'd rather be writing a TV show. Most of the time the first of the 3 panels they get is just filled with exposition filling in the audience of what happened in the previous strips. Imagine watching a TV show except each episode is only 30 seconds long and the first 10 seconds are always a previously on segment. That's this. And that brings us to the worst comic I have ever seen. The Middletons. It's created by 2 people, Ralph Dunnigan and Dana Summer, one of whom is dead, and the other one is a conservative political cartoonist who is so bad that he makes Ben Garrison look like... I'm trying to think of a good political cartoonist. Do those exist? Anyway, The Middleton sucks. The artwork looks like scribbles thrown together in 5 minutes, and the jokes range from the most tepid, boring boomer humor I've ever seen to just nonsense. What does this mean? Explain it to me. Now, if you ask anyone what the greatest comic strip of all time is, I'd wager a guess that the most common answers would be Calvin and Hobbes or Peanuts. Calvin and Hobbes combined a cynical wit, a philosophical edge with childlike imagination, and just gorgeous artwork, probably the best that's ever been seen on the newspaper comics page. And Peanuts had a similar philosophical slant with a certain comforting sadness to it, if that makes sense. But the most important thing about both of these comics for my purposes is that they were both the visions of one creator who decided to step away from their work when they decided they had run out of ideas. For most strips, that isn't the case. Most comics get handed down through generations, from parent to child, and they never really do anything new with the comics once they get it. They just keep repeating the same tired jokes over and over again. Beetle is still slacking off, Sarge is always beating him up, Dagwood is always eating big sandwiches, and Blondie is always shopping and gossiping 'cause women be shopping, am I right, fellas? Of course, there are also long-running comics who have managed to avoid this fate. Heathcliff, for example, has recently found success with its absurdist, surrealist sense of humor. I'm sure you might have seen those comics where he's wearing the meat helmet or with the garbage ape. Stuff like that has fascinated people and has attracted a younger audience. Nancy is another good example. The writer Olivia James has found success with meta humor and really clever visual gags that could really only be done in a 3-panel comic strip. But here's the thing about Nancy. Young people love it, but among old people it's a lot more controversial. In fact, they recently removed it from my local paper, and in its place we have Pickles, a comic about an old couple where the wife is usually nagging the husband. Now look, I'm not saying we should have no entertainment targeted at old people. I'll be old one day too, a fact that I am constantly aware of. But you see my point, right? Newspaper comics stagnated years ago, and as soon as someone comes along trying something new, it gets cut down and replaced with the same old, same old. Even previously fresh comics like Pearls Before Swine have gone stale with age. What used to be a cynical and edgy critique of comic strips has since become more depressed. How many times can we see that joke where Pig is in bed, Rat or Goat comes to ask him about why, and then Pig gives a reason about how his bed is better than the real world, and then they climb into bed with him and say he's a genius. They do that exact joke a lot. And I really don't think we're going to be seeing any innovations anytime soon. Even if a comic strip does end, it'll just get printed in reruns forever. Take Peanuts, for example. I don't know a single newspaper that doesn't have Peanuts reruns. This is another way they keep new creators out. As you can probably tell, there's very limited space on the newspaper comics page, and if you're just reprinting the same old comics that went out of print years ago, then nobody can break into the industry. There's no room for new ideas, it's just the same characters telling the same jokes over and over again. To be honest, I don't know why I made this video. Half of it is roasting comics that no one's ever heard of, and the other half is complaining that it's very hard to break into an industry that's dying anyway. And I mean, it's not like comic strips are going anywhere, webcomics are alive and well, so I guess to answer the question why I made this video, I don't know, I just felt like it. I don't need a reason for everything I do. Go outside. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider subscribing or checking out some of my other videos. If you really like me, I have a Patreon where you can donate $1. It really helps out. Check me out on Twitter at ClassActJack for more updates or just funny haha jokes. And of course, check out my webcomic. Links to everything are in the description. I'll see you guys later.